we're going to go. I want to welcome my guest. Michael Brooks. Michael Brooks of the Majority Report. But tonight he's talking about Two Dope Boys in the podcast. Michael, how's it going?
How are you, man? It's always a pleasure to talk to you. What's going on?
Hey, nothing much, man. Nothing going on but the rent, man. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, man. How's it going down there in New York?
It's good, man. It's busy. You know, it's a regular grind here. It really is. It's kind of like it's relentless, but it's good.
Yeah, man. You're out there grinding, and we're watching. You know, I listen to, I subscribe to your podcast first of all, Two Dope Boys in the podcast, and I've been listening to it, man. So I'm enjoying what you and Phil are doing over there. And next time you come on, bring Phil with you, man. So we just chop it up a little bit and get some good laughs.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I think that's a natural conversation, and you know, it's an honor it's an honor, really, when anybody chooses, like, as you know, in your role, like building your own media presence and kind of creating something on a grassroots level.
Yeah.
It's really an honor when people choose to spend their time with you.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate it a lot. And it's done, the launch has done really well. We were, you know, we're new and noteworthy and broke into the top 20 of our verticals, and we launched and everything. So a lot of people are checking it out. But, to have someone like you, who's, you know, a friend, a peer, whose work I respect a lot, to hear that you're digging it means a lot. So great.
Hey, man. Man. I appreciate the conversations more than anything else, and I appreciate your vocabulary. I love your word. You got some good wordplay, and I like that. And I like the content that you guys do over there, because it's you do address some things that are political, but you address them as a political intersection, right? Like it has to intersect with something in culture, and I like that. With the your most recent episode discussing Alaskan Airlines, you were talking about almost along the lines of appropriation, but like ownership of a minority image and using minority marginalized communities for profit. Tell me a little bit about that conversation.
Yeah, so each week on the show, we have 2 shows a week, and there's 4 different segments in the main show. So on Tuesday, that's our longer show, and we have What's Up, What's Good, and Digging into Crates, and then we have the brand F-Up of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're talking about with Alaska Airlines, that's the brand F-Up of the week. And they basically have this campaign called My Eskimo,
right?
Which is sort of like about the mythic Eskimo figure in Alaska. And, you know, the point we were trying to get at was there's nothing wrong with, you know, a company linking its sort of like state identity and its something with its locality. That's not the problem per se, but you know, just this notion of like ownership of a mascot that is based off of, you know, historically repressed group is obviously, I mean, it's fucked up. It's wrong. And I think part of the point of Two Dope Boys is kind of like 3 different audiences. I mean, the prime audience is people, I guess, who are involved with the creative professions, right? So whether they work in an advertising agency or they're involved in developing content, and they kind of feel like they need to get a better grasp on culture. Because we're kind of saying, like, to us, being dope in the sense that we're saying it is kind of non-negotiable in the 21st century.
Okay.
Like, you need to get to a point where you're not doing that after Alaska Airlines.
Right.
And where conversations about race and about culture, even from a brand perspective, are not like, you know, a nice afterthought. They're essential to how you do business, period. So we're trying to equip people with the insight and understanding of trends and where things are going. And then, you know, the broader audience is just everybody who has an interest in either finding out, you know, fun things that they may not know about, like why soca music from the West Indies is about to blow up, or, you know, this other way of getting into these conversations about class and about politics and about race, but through a different lens. And, you know, whether we like, and what's also fun is that, you know, we're in the brand space and the cultural space, and then we're also like pretty radical dudes, and the crew of people we have around us are pretty radical. So we're kind of holding that, like, you know, enjoy the Nike ad, and then talk about the Das Kapital critique. So we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, you guys are doing, and you're doing it well over there, man. I love the production quality. I love what you guys are doing. I just like, I really enjoy the podcast, and I'm not saying that to, well, shoot, I mean, you and we're just friends, so I have no, I have no vested interest in it other than to support you as a friend, man, and as a colleague. So, so when I say it, I really genuinely mean that. So I know by now everybody knows the news about Fife Dog, Malik. Malik Taylor of the Tribe Called Quest passed away today at 45. It was just announced before, at least I saw it right before the show, that the cause of death was complications to type 2 diabetes. And anybody who knows his work, one of his dopest lines, man, one of the lines that stood out to me was when he said, "Mr. Energetic, who me sound pathetic. When's the last time you heard a funky diabetic?" He was killing that, and he represented so hard, man. I just wanted to get your thoughts on him as an artist, as a culture icon, and the things that he did.
Well, I love you first and foremost. I want to echo you. I appreciated the humor.
Yeah,
that was the first thing that I noticed about him when I first started listening to Tribe Called Quest. It was a little bit before. You're probably about the same age, like late 20s, early 30s kind of range. So it was a little bit, when they really kind of blew up. I don't, we probably, at least I wasn't listening to pop yet. But I remember. So I the first rappers I heard was sort of like the West Coast gangster guys.
Okay.
And then listening to Tribe Called Quest and Nomadic, like, oh, this is like guys. So it's kind of different soundscapes here. And the thing that I noticed distinctly about Tribe is like this, even as a kid, I didn't understand all the lyrics. I was like, this is funny.
Yeah.
And, this is clever. And I think the other thing that's important about him, and we actually talked about him, shouted him out and noted his passing on the majority report actually today. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a conversation I have a lot with Phil, and as part of the kind of two dope boys thing, just our friendship. There's a great tradition of like the Grammys and stuff, and this is not something I want to get rid of at all, but it's very inbuilt into culture to kind of be like, here's some dude who did like, bluegrass music in the 70s, or there was a woman who was a kind of like, great rock singer or something, but she wasn't kind of like, on the top line. And we should sort of know, like everybody knows Rolling Stones, Beatles, and that's great, but like we should know some of the people who are kind of more on the margins. And I think, obviously not that Fife was on the margins, but I think that, Tribe Called Quest and those guys, it's backpack rap and all of that, so they're kind of known in a certain zone. But really, if you look at the totality of what they did, I mean, they had such a major impact on culture, and we need to start treating people like him in the same way as we did, that rock musician that might be a little bit off of the mainstream radar. Yeah. Because everything that you appreciate about rap music, like if you appreciate Drake or Kendrick or any of that, it wouldn't have happened without Tribe Called Quest. That jazz and hip hop sound, it wouldn't have happened. And just that play off of, Q being all slick and Fife being, like just kind of like real human. I mean, it's just an incredible, like classic kind of duo. I mean, really just like as traditional as it gets in that way. Yeah. And, he's 45, so it's really sad. And that's the last, that's so young.
That's real young, man. I'm realizing that I'm a little bit older than you. Probably, I might have you by about 4 years. We probably were in high school around the same time. But no, I remember Tribe Called Quest. I remember, when they stopped making music together, and Q-Tip went out and started doing his thing, and he kind of maintained that vibe, that the same thing that you liked about the Tribe. He tried to maintain as much as he could with that. But I felt like the hip hop industry kind of evolved away from that cultural phenomenon, linguistic genius, and just
Right.
enjoying hip hop, enjoying rap, and it kind of left those guys. And so now, old guys like me, we're like, man, they're just not doing it like a tribe, the Wu-Tang Clan. They're just not. The game is just. I don't even can't even tell you what's on
First
the
of all,
radio
you're
today.
not old, and secondly, you don't have to be old to acknowledge the reality. Of
It's
course,
just a
there'll be
different
music
world,
like
man.
that.
Yeah.
Kendrick is great. I actually really like A$AP Rocky and Wiz Khalifa.
Yep.
I like that kind of
Yep.
party rap thing. But dude, you had a period of time where Tribe Called Quest, you had
Yep.
Wu-Tang, you had Ready to Die, you had Illmatic. I don't know, it was written, mind you. It was written just as good as Illmatic. I'll argue that with anybody. And then early Jay-Z,
Yep.
that's just objectively.
That was a great year. Those were some great years, man. Those were those were the best years, man. I heard you say Illmatic, so definitely that's on the top of the list. Early Jay-Z before he became too commercialized. Really, those were the good days of hip hop for me. But then again, that was my heyday. That was high school for me. So, listen, let's talk a little politics if you got a moment. I want to talk about.
I have a long time for you, man. No rush. What do you got on your mind?
I want to talk about some where arts and creativity is intersecting with politics. Right, I'm gonna try to do a little bit what you do over there at Two Dope Boys, but I'm a little more angry than you guys too. So North Carolina. Well, actually, let's start with Georgia. Georgia is engaging in some anti-LGBT legislation. They're trying to get, I believe, it's HB2 over there in. Actually, no, I'm sorry, HB 757. It's called Pastor Protection Act and the First Amendment Defense Act in Georgia. Essentially, trying to, in my opinion, codify discrimination against LGBTQ community, the LGBTQ community.
Absolutely.
What jumps out about this to me, besides just the atrociousness of what they're trying to do, is that you have the movie industry and you have the TV industry that are in Georgia benefiting from the tax breaks. Then they get things out of being in Georgia, but now they've come to the point. Disney, Marvel Studios, and of late today I saw my favorite network, AMC, and The Walking Dead. They are essentially, at least Disney and Marvel, they're threatening to leave Georgia altogether if the governor passes this legislation. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, look, it's disgusting. And I guess what strikes me is that, and I don't want to gloss over it, it's a battle right now, and this could very well get signed right now, and it's going to continue the demeaning and the repression and the abuse of, gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual people, and it's fucking disgusting. But the thing that really strikes me, every time these stories kind of arise, is because I do think, obviously to some degree the pendulum has swung, and we're moving to some degree in the right direction on those issues specifically.
Yeah.
But when you kind of go back in the sweep of human time, and to me, like, this is a lot of where my politics comes from on a certain level. The reason I think when I was younger, even kind of pre-reading about politics, I just had this very instinctive reaction to, like, well, wait, because someone's black or Asian or whatever, like, they're not going to be able to, do X, Y, or Z, or they're going to get beat up by somebody because of that. Like, that's fucked up. That's just not right.
Right.
And not only is that not right, that's also it quite literally hurts all of us, because how much human potential are you throwing away when you say that, a woman can't lead, black people can't lead, gay people can't live their lives, transgender people can't live their lives. You're throwing away human capacity.
Yeah.
You're abusing all of us. It's like a political sickness, kind of a spiritual sickness too.
Yeah.
So I just kind of look at this and I think, like, in the end, Georgia will lose. And it's going to be a real fight, and it's disgusting that this is even in play. But 10 years ago, it was matter of fact that gay people weren't going to have marriage equality, and transgender people were not even on the map as far as something to talk about as a group that deserved rights and recognition. So it sort of it feels all right, because good. The pressure's on the bad guys in the situation. But the historical speech. This is the first couple of years in American history we could actually say, that the backwards and the bigoted and the stupid are on their back
On the
heels on
defensive.
this. And,
Yeah.
they're still fighting.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm listening.
No, that's what I got.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. I like that. They're on the defensive with this because the momentum is moving forward. And I'm just reminded of a conversation I had with Mike Signorelli of Sirius XM, and
Smart dude. Smart dude.
he's an awesome dude. His book, It's Not Over, and in his book he was talking about how you have a victory. I think it was called either victory fatigue, or basically saying that you have a victory, but then you realize or you miss the fact that there's still an undercurrent, there's still a battle going on being waged. And so yes, there have been some significant victories in the LGBTQ community, but now you see that that fight is so far from over. There's still issues across the nation, in not only in Georgia but in North Carolina today. Just came out that they, when's the last time you hear of legislatures asking to come back for a special session? This happened in North Carolina. So many legislatures, electors, requested to come back for a special session so that they can write a piece of legislation or vote now on a piece of legislation to to take away the right of local cities, municipalities to pass their own version of anti-discrimination. So legislatures on the state level said, wait a minute. Here's Charlotte, the city of Charlotte in North Carolina. They passed an ordinance protecting lesbian, gay, and bisexual and transgendered residents, giving them public accommodations and restrooms. So the city of Charlotte is doing the right thing. And you have legislators who are out on recess, who say, "Oh no, we have to actually go back," and so we can. So they called a special session today, and in that special session, they essentially voted such that no state that they have to recognize, rather, all cities have to recognize a state level anti-discrimination. So essentially, they took away Charlotte's right to protect the LGBTQ community. All because of, I guess what, I don't know what their religious free, I don't know what their justification is about it, but that happened underneath our noses today. It was a special session called at the last second, and not even giving the people of the city and of the state, rather, the opportunity to give comment like they would in any other regular session. So it just goes back to the fact that these fights, man, if it's not one fight, it's another fight. It's always somewhere we have to hit.
That. I mean, just to jump on that for a minute, I mean, the other thing too that always kind of strikes me about it is that, when, as soon as it comes to oppressing gay people or taking away Black and Hispanic people's voting rights, the whole respect local control goes out the window. Because, right, like, we're coherent. I think that localities should have some discretion over certain things. Obviously, if they want to, like, have, urban, like, they want to say, like, we're going to protect this park or something like that. That could be a city decision, of course. But, ultimately we say, look, there's issues of civil rights and human rights that's been done the local. On the right, took all this local nonsense, but if the city wants to go out ahead of the state, or if they want to go ahead when it comes to rights, or preserve, voting access, then all of a sudden we can have judicial interference. All of a sudden the state can tell the city what to do.
Exactly.
I mean, this is nothing new, but it's just very important to always notate that, because the whole hype and the whole hustle around, judicial restraint and respecting local government, I mean, people really need to understand that fundamentally the debate in this country right now, I mean, practically Republicans and the dangers they pose are very important. And we can talk, more about that, obviously, we will. But the only actual debate that's happening in this country right now is between the genuine left and genuine progressives and neoliberals. And I will say this, for all I trash, I'm not a neoliberal, and I'm not with it, and it's a major problem. But they're in the realm of, these are policy disagreements and philosophical disagreements.
Yeah.
The Republican thing is a pseudo-historical fantasy about a country that never was,
Right.
to preserve, tax breaks for people in industries that don't need them, and then use social issues to divide everybody else. And Donald Trump is not an aberration. He's a continuity.
Exactly.
It's just from soft core to hustler.
Yes.
And for me to know exactly what it is and what the real debate is. The only debate, as far as I'm concerned, in this country right now is for Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, because the other side is important because it's social and political danger, but there's a complete intellectual vacuum.
Mike, listen, man. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I don't want to hold you too much longer, but I want to drop this out here that you may not even remember, but on Twitter we were talking about the debate of Bernie or bust, or against being Bernie or bust. So we're going to get you back and we are working so that we don't even have to have that conversation, first and foremost. But if we have to have that conversation, you're going to come on and from what I understand, you're going to represent the anti-Bernie or bust position. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm anti-Bernie or bust, and I hope that I'll be on, many other times before then. And I won't, and not all of your listeners and viewers will start to hate me because of that. But I guess my basic just thumbnail with that is I think that, fundamentally the things that need to happen as far as organizing, as far as changing the fundamental nature of this country go, it far transcends the vote one way or another. And I think that, I totally believe in tactical voting. I guess also because, my first formidable political experience, before I even could vote, but I was engaged in the 2000 election. And I was engaged with Ralph Nader. And I don't blame, there's a lot of people want to blame Ralph Nader for everything are ridiculous. The main problem is the Supreme Court stole that election. But the reality is that, I did have this formidable experience of it wasn't like I was wrong. The companies did control both the parties, and the Clinton administration was really bad in a lot of ways. But, Al Gore presidency would have certainly looked a hell of a lot different than George W. Bush.
All day
and
long.
Hillary Clinton is going to look different than fucking Ted Cruz.
Well, let me. I'm gonna do you a favor here. I'm gonna do you a favor. I want you to save all that for the debate, right? Because
no problem.
I want you to say that for the debate because
so much more than that.
Yeah, no. I know you've got probably a reservoir of information to hold your position. I just wanted to mention that for you and for the audience to know that that it's a conversation, it's a debate, it's something that we should debate extensively, right? We're going to disagree on it, but one thing that you said is like you don't want my audience to, and I know you're just kind of joking about it. You don't want them to not like you, but or just start hating you because you're anti-Bernie or bust. But the point is for me is that we're going to have the difficult conversations, even if it's with people that we agree with on everything else. It's a must. We have to be able to challenge each other. So I'm bringing you on to help challenge that position, and but I'll have you back plenty of times before that, so we can talk about some more of your podcasts. And tell Phil he has to come on. If we're talking two dope boys in the podcast, I need both dope boys.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let me just say real quick. Go to iTunes.
Yeah.
Two dope boys and the and sign. You don't have to spell it out. And a podcast. It's the number two. Two dope boys in the podcast. The website is twodopeboyspod.com. You can follow me on Twitter @_Michael Brooks and Majority.fm every day. And yeah, again, as far as Bernie busting goes, I mean, just to reiterate, all the big stuff that we got to do goes far beyond this election, and no one articulates that better than Bernie Sanders.
Absolutely.
It's amazing watching him out there, and I'm excited to vote for him when it comes to New York. And thanks for having me on, man.
Hell yeah. Hey, man, I'll be down in New York in May, so we got to link up when I come down there.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to it. I'll see you soon.
All right, man. Thanks so much. Michael Brooks of the Majority Report and of Two Dope Boys and a podcast. I want you guys to check him out on Twitter. Follow him. I believe I miss his handle, but I'll tweet it out. You guys probably follow him already. All right. The phone lines are open.